Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on here today. I'm so excited.
I am so happy to have you on the podcast today. And my favorite part about this is I don't know a whole lot about your story, but I know bits and pieces through our mutual friend, Fian. And I am so excited that she has connected us because that's honestly one of my favorite parts about business and about how we grow and learn, and just that we give shout outs to others and are able just to learn something new every day by connecting each other with people
Totally.
whom I'm not sure if I would have met you. And so this is so cool. And I'm excited to hear your story today.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I'm so excited to connect too. I miss the human connection.
I know
So,
someday we will do this again and we'll actually have a coffee or cocktail in person together.
deal.
You're on. So I would love to hear your background. And for my listeners who have not yet heard about Canbaba, would love to know just where you've come from and how you started on this very cool new venture.
Yeah. Long story, but I'll try and keep it short and simple. So I was born and raised here in Saskatoon, and after high school, I felt a huge urge to travel. So I went to the UK for about 6 weeks and just was like,
Ooh.
okay, I need to travel more. So I moved to Australia and I spent about a year there, and then I went to New Zealand, Thailand a couple times, Taiwan. And I had previously worked in I was working at the Source by Circuit City. It's like Radio Shack.
Yeah,
I'm like a technology nerd. So going to Asia was just like amazing. There's
I
so
bet.
much cool tech over there, especially mobile phones that we can't get here in North America because we have like super strict laws, and rightfully so. But when I was in Thailand, I got the first iPhone there before it was even in North America. I was like that hardcore tech
You need to
nerd.
like put that on your resume. That's like a bucket list item.
I should put it on my desk. It's like the titanium, super heavy, old back. Like it's awesome though, but I
Okay,
keep
I'm
in
going to
touch
jump in
with
here because I totally agree. I am not a techie person, but I lived in Taiwan in 2002 to
Oh,
2003. And same thing where I had just gotten a cell phone prior to 2002. Like, I don't actually remember when I got my first cell phone, but I had a cell phone already. But then moving there, had to get a new cell phone, obviously, to like work with the system that was
yeah.
there, and got this super cute, like, I wish I had kept it, but the person who like took over my job was like trying to get all set up in Asia, and I was trying to be like a good Samaritan and help them all out. So it just like pretty much just sold and gave my life to them of all of the things that I had as I was like moving back to Canada. And I had this cute little white Motorola phone that was like so teeny tiny, but like chubby. Like it was like a
Yeah.
thick, like little tiny phone. And I bedazzled it with all the flair so that I was like
Awesome.
living like the locals, you know? I wanted
That's
to fit
so
in.
funny. I have a fake like Louis Vuitton little flip phone. And yeah, I like gave it to my daughter. Now she's 4 and she like loves it. Like
That is awesome. Okay, I totally interrupted you, but I'm
all good.
excited to hear where this is going. Okay, you're in
Yeah.
Thailand.
So yeah, and then I just love technology, marketing, merchandising. So I wanted to go to school so I could strategically travel more. So I did my bachelor's degree in marketing through Okanagan College in Kelowna, BC, the beautiful Okanagan.
Yes.
And so I did 4 exchanges: Quebec, France, Croatia, and China, and traveled as much as I possibly could throughout all those
My
places.
like
I
heart is
studied.
racing. My heart is racing listening to you talking about travel because that is like burning a hole in my heart
Yeah.
right now from this past year. So I'm like on a mini vacation right now listening to you.
Me too. It's just like looking back. I'm so thankful that I did a lot of the travel. And like I had this weird deep down feeling in my stomach. I'm like, I have to do this now because I probably won't be
Mm.
able to later. And now I have 2 kids and I'm actually pregnant with baby number 3. So
Wow, congratulations.
thank you.
If it wasn't public knowledge before, it is now.
Yeah, it's all out there. So doing a tech startup, baby number 3 on the way, 2
Just a few
female
things on the
founders.
go. Yeah, no
Yeah,
big deal.
breaking all the rules, all the boundaries. They're all out there.
I love it.
So, yeah. And then, so I studied a whole bunch of different languages, and I was also doing opera and performing on the side too, oddly enough.
Wow.
And then I worked in the BC film industry and media. I just love like creating things, especially with a big team of people, and you just create magic and put it on the screen, and then I got more into like digital marketing, social media, web development, and in 2013 I graduated with my bachelor's degree, and I was really interested in Amazon and e-commerce because it was growing exponentially. Amazon especially, like they're the number one e-commerce platform in the world. They're worth about 1.7 trillion now. And I think last year or a year and a half ago, they're at like 400 billion or something. So like within this past year, they've exponentially grown too. It's just unreal. And so, but I was so daunted at that time. Like a lot of the people were making millions of dollars, but they spent about 10 grand US investing in a whole bunch of Chinese products, sending it to an American warehouse, putting Facebook ads on it and praying like it's going to sell. And a lot of times they did quite well. But for me, I was like, oh, this is too scary. I don't want to take the leap, but I'm really, really interested in it. At some point, I want to come back to that. So then, just worked in different industries, always like with tech and marketing. And then, I was just like, kind of, figuring what I really wanted to do in life and what I was passionate about. And then years later, though, I ended up finding myself in the middle of this awful abusive relationship. And it was like just living in a constant nightmare. My ex had gotten into drugs and he was like suicidal, very aggressive. He wasn't even the same person anymore. And at that time, we had a baby and a business together. I just felt completely trapped. And, it was so, so scary looking back at it. And thankfully, I had my family who were just so supportive. They came and saved my daughter and I. And, I was 30 years old, pregnant, single mom. I was pregnant with baby number 2.
Oh.
I moved into my parents' basement. I was completely broke and broken emotionally, mentally, physically, and I wasn't eligible for mat leave because I was self-employed for so many years. And this one week I applied for over 30 jobs. I didn't get a single interview, even though I have tons of education and experience and all this wealth of knowledge. It was just like the universe was like, you're not meant to work for someone else. You can't depend on anyone. You can't depend on a man. You can't depend on a job. You have to be independent. And so I was like, okay, universe, I get it. I hear you. And so I needed to find something that I could do on my own, working from home with little kids that was flexible. And so I went back to the Amazon kind of e-commerce thing. And I was like, hey, I need to learn as much as I possibly can for free, basically, because I don't have any money. So I downloaded like every free PDF, took every free online course. I watched thousands of YouTube hours, like as much as I could. I just took up all the knowledge and information I could. And I didn't have any money to invest in products. So I started listing for practice. I went through my house and I just scanned all the books throughout my parents' house just to practice of like how to list products on there. Then I eventually found people here in Saskatoon listed their products, started making a little bit of money. Then I ordered products from China and I finally made a successful day. I sold 800 units of this like little product. And I was just like, explosions of excitement. I was just over the moon. Like, thank God I finally made a successful moment in my life compared to like where I was 8 months or 7 months before that. And also through the midst of that craziness, I did a lot of like inner healing. When I was 6 months pregnant, I actually met the love of my life. And and he didn't have a dad growing up, and so he was like could be the dad he never had for my 2 kids. And I gave birth to a healthy baby boy in January 2019, and it was 2018, and it was just like everything was meant to be. Even though there were so many hard things that I went through.
Mhm.
It was like I needed to learn those hard lessons and to get to the place where I needed to be, and everything's like worked out so amazing. And so I just added, you know, after the birth and everything, I got kind of back to work after a while, and I started adding more products on Amazon. And then I started consulting for other people, showing them, okay, this is how you do this. And I did some like
Yeah.
training courses and stuff, started getting connected with more people in e-commerce here in Saskatoon. And there's like a lot of ups and downs too. Uh, I'll write a book one day, but for
Seriously. Yes.
but for now, yeah. In 2019, at the end of, or I guess it was, when was it? Or I guess early 2020, I did a talk at WESC, and it was like how to sell products online. And I, of course, was
Mm.
like, oh, this is how you import Chinese products, and you put them on Amazon, and you do this, this, and this. And, you know, half the people in the room were mad because they were, you know, Canadian makers or
Right.
manufacturers, and rightfully so, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the room was kind of like confused, but also like very intrigued. And there's this one lady in there, she was awesome, you know, and she's like, I hate this. I hate what you do. We should be supporting Canadians. And I was like, I totally agree with you. But do you know how hard it is to find Canadian manufacturers and get them on Amazon? It is so difficult, and it shouldn't be, but our supply chain system here is like in the 90s. It is archaic. And we're dependent on these other countries like US, China, Europe, that are way more technologically advanced. We're using their supply chain systems and their technologies to, you know, to make our system work.
Mhm.
And we've really given away our power. And then when the pandemic hit, it was just like, holy, you know, this
Yeah.
is awful.
Here we
I felt
go. Yeah.
I felt so bad because I was like, I'm getting, you know, 90% or more of my product supply from China. And a lot of my clients are getting their supply from China too. I was like, okay, I need to change this. And then awesome Fian, she's so great. She's my co-founder with Canbaba. She messaged me and a few other people in e-commerce and was like, how can we help Canadian businesses? And I was like, well, there's this huge crater of a market gap in wholesaling, and drop shipping's not even existent barely in Canada. This is a massive undertaking, but it could revolutionize our whole supply chain industry and actually make us compete with other company or
Mm.
countries. And she's like, well, let's look into it. And the more we looked, the further we went, and it was just like, this has to happen. It is so needed because, you know, everyone's like, I want to buy local and support local, but we're looking at it from like the retail part of it, which is like such a surface issue. We're not actually going to like the foundational issue, like the root cause, which is the supply chain. And
Right.
that supply chain is reliant on US and Asia and like
Mhm.
other countries.
Yes.
So here we are almost a year later from when we started this. We've gone through 2 incubators, and it's been like a crazy whirlwind, bootstrapping it the whole way. We're finally just about to get our first injection of funding, and like we're going all in for this. We launched our MVP beta testing site at the end of January, and just starting to get more and more manufacturers signed up. And yeah, here we are.
That is amazing. So I want to backtrack on what you were talking about. So when you are speaking to this group of women entrepreneurs here in Saskatoon and you're getting, did you anticipate negative feedback before you went into this conversation?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit, but not
Yeah.
like, I didn't know what to expect
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And
So
I
what was
know
your
it
take?
in
Like, what
in
was
my
your take on it?
soul.
I feel like I love that you mentioned this because I feel like in business, things can be complicated. It's not, everyone is not always seeing eye to eye. And I think
Yeah,
you're totally right. Like in 2020, how this pandemic has sort of forced every single human being slash human being who owns a business.
yeah,
We've all been anticipating, or we've all been sort of working through this in each our own individual lives, in our business lives. And it's been no roadmap to follow. This is just slammed the world, and nobody could have had this type of contingency plan in place for a world pandemic shutting down the earth. And
Totally.
how did you respond in these conversations with, because I love that you've spun this around to saying, okay, you're actually coming up with a solution to this, rather than, which you wouldn't have had to do. You could have been in this and you could have kept on moving, probably much simpler for you to just keep
Yeah.
moving forward. If I'm understanding this correctly,
Yeah.
moving forward and just keeping on going as it's going, which I'm sure a lot of business owners can relate to. But you made the choice to say, hey, I want to actually jump, because I think you're right. A lot of us who are business owners, and I know for myself, like I was feeling all of this as a business owner of how do I shift my business during the pandemic, but I
Yeah.
also was feeling, how do I help my fellow business owners during the pandemic? Where am I shopping? Where am I ordering food from? Where am I getting this, that, and this from? Like
Totally.
versus all of the issues that were coming up with like things taking forever to be shipped if you were ordering something from somewhere else. Like it was a huge catastrophe.
Yeah.
So how, when Fian approached you about this and you guys actually made the decision to say, like, this is not a small undertaking, you are really shifting what hasn't been happening here before, what made you decide to take the road less traveled?
I just felt it like so deep within me, and like I had this feeling right from 2013 when I started in e-commerce and like Amazon. I was just like, why is it so hard to find supply in Canada? Like, why is it that I can go on Alibaba and search virtually any product and find it within seconds and buy it within minutes? Why
Hmm.
is that? And like having lived in Asia, I
Yeah.
know like they are way more technologically like
Yes.
advanced. And here, when we've been doing so much research, there's manufacturers still using fax machines here. They're stuck in the 90s, and
Mhm.
it's just like mind blowing. It was interesting. We spoke to one of the trade commissioners here in Saskatoon about 2 weeks ago, and you could see the light bulb moment in his mind, like, holy smokes, you're right. We are so far behind here. I can't believe nobody's figured this out. And like Canada has a lower population. We're kind of like forgotten,
Right.
there's and like, but it is a massive multi-billion-dollar opportunity that we've kind of like stumbled upon through this, that, and the other thing, and it's just like, this feels so right. We have to like step up and do this.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So, how would you describe? So, for people listening today who are still feeling confused, and I want to understand clearer too, how this actually works, can you walk through the process? Because all of us understand Amazon, like from a
Mm-hmm.
sense of being a consumer, at least, like you buy it, it comes from somewhere. Don't always actually
Yeah.
fully understand it. It just magically arrives on your door, and you're like, oh, well, good. This is what I wanted.
Yeah.
But how would you say that with Amazon and Alibaba that you've mentioned as well, how is Canbaba different in that regard? Like, why would somebody who is a Canadian wanting to shop Canadian products or wanting to wholesale their Canadian products, what would be the benefit or reason why they would come with your company?
So ours is not retail at all. It's not for consumers. That is the biggest thing. And I think a lot of misconceptions come from
Mm,
that, is like, we're not for the end user. We're for businesses to buy from us. So typically, like wholesale is bulk purchasing, like a minimum order of 100 units or 500 or 10,000 units. It's these big bulk purchases. So, and that's where we align a bit more with Alibaba, because they are also like, you have to have a minimum order quantity of
right.
whatever amount. And so that's where we're changing kind of the system. There's thousands and thousands of retail sites out there, but there's no wholesaling site or solution in Canada. There's a lot of business directories out there, but you can't actually buy something or sell something on them, which is just crazy. It's like, this is 2021.
Yeah.
Why
How
has
has this
this
not happened?
not, it's like, there's like all the big grocery stores that have their like internal supply kind of systems, and there's like food chain supply, like there's all these supply manufacturing systems, but they're completely disconnected.
Right.
So like it's just the craziest thing. So we're connecting all of these parts together. So if you are a manufacturer, like my desk is just riddled with products here. Whether you create something like tea or t-shirts or stickers or whatever it is, you can sign up to Canbaba for free right now, which is, you know, the other sites you have to pay a certain amount to even sign up. So it's like so easy. It takes, you know, minutes to sign up, a few minutes or 10 minutes or so to set up your profile and start adding products, and you can start selling them right away because it's real time. And yeah, you just set your minimum order quantity of like 10, or if you have a case of 50 or whatever it is, and think of who you're selling it to is going to be maybe a retail store,
Right.
or it could be a store in the US for buying products, or somewhere in the Middle East or China or wherever in the world who's wanting to buy high quality Canadian goods for low Canadian dollars. That's the other thing too, is like our dollar is so low,
Totally.
like it's probably a lot cheaper for Americans to buy our products than it is for them to buy Chinese ones, and all the tariffs and shipping and all that other stuff that goes along
Totally.
with it.
Yeah.
And for Canadians too, to buy Canadian products, hey, no tariffs, way faster shipping, way better quality, and you can actually talk to them. They're like in the same time zone,
Yeah.
you know?
Who knew? Yeah.
So there's so many benefits to this, and it's a big, it's hard because it's like re-educating everyone is what we're doing. We're restructuring this industry, which is like a big feat. So the more people I think get awareness of this and understanding of it, we need like everyone to acknowledge this, so we can all like work together to
Yeah.
become less dependent on other countries. We need to be independent. You know?
Totally. So once a business chooses to sign up and they've gone online, like you mentioned, they've created their account, they have their product or products, whatever they are selling, then what is the process from there? Like, are these, are the companies that would be signing up for this, are they companies that would generally not have their own storefront or their own store, or is it a bit of both? Like they might be selling their products on their own, plus
Mhm.
they want to expand obviously and they can't be everywhere, so their products showing up in other people's stores or businesses is a benefit to them as well.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a site for like the buyers are going to be, they could be e-commerce buyers or have their own other stores. So really you're creating your own little supply chain channels from this one listing, and you can syndicate this channel. Like what we've been doing too with Canbaba is people list their product on our site, and we'll also help them get on Amazon. And
Mm.
with my Amazon, I've been selling mostly in North America, but I recently opened it up to the Middle East, 7 countries over there in like UAE, Egypt, Oman, a few other ones. And there's no Canadian, well, there was no Canadian products over in the Middle East on Amazon there until I started selling on there. There's 3 now. And, you know,
Wow.
so, and like, that's the other thing too, is like Canada hasn't been really shown in these places yet. So I think there's so much opportunity and growth for us to do even more exports, especially for these like unique, wholesome products. Like we have so many incredible manufacturers and makers here and right here in Saskatchewan and
Mhm.
Saskatoon. It's like, you know, just put your products out there. It doesn't take a whole lot of time or money or effort, and you can really like expand so much more easily. And yeah, I don't know
That
if that
is
answered your
so
question.
amazing. I just love that. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, as we're dreaming up ideas and we have the wildest ideas that are just revolving around our minds 24/7, right? Like, I think it's just an ongoing process. I don't think I've ever met another entrepreneur who doesn't have some sort of ongoing list either on their phone or in a journal or 5 journals or wherever, where it's just ongoing of the
Yeah.
things that whatever they're doing day to day is inspiring random ideas, whether they follow through with them or not. It's just a matter of having them there. And I think when you're coming up with an idea like this, where you are literally blazing trails of things that
Yeah.
actually haven't been done before, that takes it to a whole nother level of risk, of all the, I'm sure, feedback you've been receiving, the good, the bad, the ugly, of people who, when you are re-educating, it just becomes something to understand. And until the understanding comes, it's not quote unquote a normal thing to do. So you got to get
Yeah.
people to get on board, right?
Totally. Yeah. 100%.
Oh, wow. So that is not for the weak of heart. So right now with so when did you actually launch this, like where people actually could start putting their accounts up? Like how new are we talking here?
At the end of January, we had like a couple other sites and different things, and we were looking at all these solutions, and we finally came across this all-in-one, super easy to use software, perfect for our beta testing, just to like really prove the concept, get people to sign up, start tracking the data and making sure, okay, this is going to work.
Yeah,
And so
totally.
we're starting to see like people signing up on their own too, and we've like had to do a lot of manual stuff. And yeah, so it's been going for almost 2 months. Oh my goodness, it's already like almost the end
I
of March.
know,
This is
right? That is
crazy.
amazing. So
Yeah.
right now, so I'm going to link this all in the show notes so that people can go check this out and look online and see if this could be a fit for their business, if they have products. And I'm sure there is a lot of business owners who are going to be so delighted that this is something that is available now, because I think I am not a product based business, but I can imagine that as a product based business, I know with our nonprofit that we have with Cassidy's Lemonade Stand, we have products that we sell. And that has always been an issue. And it's a very different situation with it being a nonprofit and the way that we like run things. But it's always been an issue to figure out how to distribute these things. And we do have retailers that want to put stuff in store, but we just aren't quite sure what this process is, because that's not our forte. And we're
Hmm.
busy doing our lives and doing our things. And the fact that this exists now, like my brain is like thinking about
Yeah.
this all.
Yeah, and like we're still in our beta testing mode right now. So we're in kind of stage one just to get our vendors, like our manufacturers and distributors signed up. So like they can still start selling stuff, but we haven't even really started marketing to
Right.
the buyers at this point. Just because, you know, a marketplace, you have the both sides. We want
Yes.
to create, I think it's a chicken first, right?
Yes.
Or the egg? I don't know. But
Totally.
we have to build that supply chain up. And then in our like next stage, then we'll be promoting it to the buyers. We've already made connections with trade commissioners, in like over 160 countries. We'll be promoting this
Wow.
platform to once the supply is built up.
Yes.
So right now it's free. It's super easy to sign up. So I highly recommend,
There's
encourage
really
people
nothing to
get it
lose.
now.
There's nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. And like another place to have your products shown on is like, you know, that's just even more growth for your business ultimately. So, and then, yeah, we're just going to keep growing it up. And then eventually we want to create a warehousing and fulfillment center right here in Saskatoon. So there's like not too many in Canada, but they're like in Alberta or Ontario. There's nothing in
Yes.
Saskatchewan or Manitoba yet. So, and that'll also help create more jobs here and make people be able to automate their businesses. Because shipping and like packaging, all that stuff,
Oh,
it takes so much time. It's
totally.
so time consuming. And that's why Amazon's so successful, because they take care of that automation, like shipping process. So we want to do that here too. And just, you know, especially for people living in the boonies or like
Yeah.
way up in northern Saskatchewan,
Mhm.
you know, you know, if they could have a place in more central location where they just store their products, we take care of all the fulfillment for them.
Yes.
They just get to focus on their business, what they love. It's creating products or creating art, you know?
That is amazing. So, right now, since you started, give me an example of some of the products that you currently have on there? Because I totally understand what you're saying. Like, you're not wanting to start marketing this to all of the buyers when you only have very limited products being listed,
Yeah.
but yet you want the people that are listing with you to know that it is going to be going to so many different places that they would probably never be reaching on their own
Yes,
if they were choosing to just figure out how to market this themselves.
exactly. Or they'd have to, spend the time that I did,
Yes.
thousands of hours learning how to do
Yes.
Amazon and Shopify and eBay, like, you know.
Yeah. It's
So
just
with
not
this, it's,
possible.
yeah. So we have quite a few products listed on there right now. There's like some tea, there's tea baths, there's organic dishwasher detergent, organic, this is made here in Saskatoon, organic laundry soap. We also have some imported products too, but the distributors are here in Saskatoon. So we have Burundi, like African coffee, that's actually so good. I don't drink coffee, but this is like amazing
Yum.
coffee. And then we have this mango zan. It's actually mango steam juice. I've never heard of this fruit in my life, but
Yum.
it's really high in xanthones. And if you have heart issues, diabetes, anxiety issues, this juice is amazing. It's like miracle juice. And there's local people right here in Saskatoon that actually the distributor for this is in Prince Albert, of all places. There's so many unique people here who make things or distribute them or, you know, bundle things together. Just need the system to start running and get bigger. And then it's like, we're there, all the pieces are there. We just have to connect them.
Yeah, I agree. And every single product you listed right now, I don't know the actual supplier names of all of them, but some of the ones you're talking about, I have never heard of before. And
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a person who intentionally looks for these types of things around my city. And I love hearing about new businesses and cool products and things that are happening and haven't heard of any of them, even though I'm like
Yeah.
intentionally wanting to. And I think that's such an interesting point because I think as being in marketing myself and event planning, there is such an interesting perspective, I think, sometimes where it's so easy to feel as a business owner like, why am I not getting more traction on this?
Mhm.
Or I'm like pounding the pavement and I'm like spending so much time on social media and trying to like have my products be out there and talking about them and whatever. And it kind of goes like, you don't even have any idea who's really all seeing them based on different algorithms and all of that back end stuff. That's a whole nother episode. But
Yeah.
the as well as we can be talking and talking and talking and talking about our stuff, but that doesn't mean that there isn't 90% of the rest of the even just our city or province who have even heard of it before, because
Totally.
we're generally only sort of really talking about it to the people that we're closest to. And
Yeah.
they're getting the like descriptions and the things about how it is. They might understand or not understand what you all do or what your products are. But this is just such an interesting concept because until you have other people and other businesses talking about using the products, showing the products, at least this is my opinion, and I'm sure there's a lot of opinions about this, but that to me is how growth happens. Like
Yeah.
being on an island and not talking about them or not having other people talking about them and nobody's using them, nobody's featuring them, and then you're just wondering why you're not getting momentum on your products. Like this feels like a solution for all of those things.
Totally. Well, and it's like the accessibility part of it too. Like 60 to 80% of the products that are readily available are typically US or Chinese products.
Mhm.
And not that those products are bad or those countries are bad or anything. It's because their supply chains are way more advanced than ours and they have way more manpower than we do too. And our manufacturing supply chain system is so archaic, stuck in the 90s. And so like this is the ultimate solution to actually making Canadian products more accessible for Canadians and for the rest of the world, because like up until now it hasn't really been done yet. And so yeah, we want to change it. We need
Seriously.
everyone's help. Like let's all do
Yeah.
this
And
together.
it's such a different approach to shopping local,
Yeah,
which I think is like a term that, I mean, has always been a term for many years obviously, but I think it's come into a very different light throughout 2020 and now 2021 as we continue to try to help businesses in our community thrive. And the only way they can thrive is by people buying their products and using their
Totally.
services. And this kind of takes it to that whole nother level, because I'm guessing that there's a lot of businesses who would be very interested in doing this, but the idea of trying to figure this out is so daunting, like you said, and without knowing that your company existed and thinking about maybe going the Amazon route and figuring out how to be that as a Canadian supplier of something, I can
Mhm.
imagine, like, running a business is so stressful as it is. There's so much on the go all of the time, right?
Totally.
That to try to figure out some huge other secondary part of your business when you're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep running tickety boo. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing because I don't have the energy to figure out this whole other thing, which could be a massive revenue stream, but it's just too much time, work, and energy to figure out. And so then the hamster wheel just kind of keeps turning in the business.
Absolutely. And like Amazon, they have so many strict rules and regulations that you have to follow. And there's a lot of their categories are gated. So you have to get like these special approvals. And like a newbie in that, it's not you don't know that stuff. It takes time just to figure out, oh, the solution's not actually going to work.
Right.
And that's time it's like you could have spent on this other thing. And so, but
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing about this. I am so excited to be sharing these links, and for all of the business owners who are in my amazing Celebrating Simple Life podcast family, hearing this today, whose wheels are going to be spinning now, thinking about how this could potentially be a benefit to them and their business. Because if 2020 has taught us anything, it's anything can happen, right? Anything
totally.
can happen. And there's always new ways of doing business and experiencing business and new showing up in new ways. And I think that's exactly
Mhm.
what this is. And I think it's so amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Well, before I let you go, I have to ask every one of my wonderful guests these real life questions that we get to know who the real Lisa is. And you were very gracious in sharing so openly about some of the difficult times that you've come through. And I'm so grateful that you felt like this was a space that you could share that, because that's not easy to share those hard corner pieces of our life. And I hope that anyone listening today who has or is in a situation where they are experiencing
Mhm.
hardships in their relationships or health concerns and all of that can just feel that sharing it actually makes it feel easier, in my opinion. And you can share these hard things because 99.999% of the time there is somebody just around the corner who needs to hear this, to know that they're not alone.
Totally.
Okay, so first question I'm going to ask you is, what book are you currently reading? Ebook, audiobook, paper book, doesn't matter.
Um, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love him. I love his
Oh,
meditations too, and he's my go-to guy.
I love it. You'll have to send me that link. I have not heard of this book, but it sounds right up my alley.
Mhm.
Love
Yeah,
it.
so good.
Um, so you mentioned you might not be a huge coffee drinker, but
Yeah.
are you a coffee drinker, or what is your beverage order of choice?
I don't drink coffee typically ever, but I love Earl Grey tea or London fogs. Are so good.
Love it. Right now, in your current life situation, you're pregnant, you've got two young kids, you're working like crazy as a business owner. What would the theme song of your life be?
This one's so hard. I really like Dua Lipa right now.
Yes,
But like if I had to pick one, I'm a huge Beatles fan too. One of
classic.
my favorite songs ever is "And I Love Her." It's not as well known, but it's just it's so good, and it gets you like relaxed and happy.
I love songs that do that. Isn't it so funny? I was having a discussion this week with one of my coworkers about just talking about how different people experience music differently, because in our family, like, my husband and daughters would love music playing all of the time, and I love having music playing too if we're just like hanging out, cooking dinner, or we're like cleaning, just like doing whatever around the house. But if
Yeah.
I'm trying to like focus on something and do something, it has to be quiet. Like I cannot have music playing, where a lot of people have music on as like a thing to do. But for me, music feels like another person talking. It's like
Hmm.
I have to like completely turn it off. Or if we're like in the car, when our kids aren't really that little anymore, but when they were really little and they would be like throwing fits in the back seat of the car, and
Yeah.
then music would be on. My husband's suggestion was like, let's turn the music way up. And I'd be like, ah,
That's
it's
too funny.
too much.
Yeah.
But the songs
Oh,
that can actually like put you into relaxed transcendent state, that's good. That's a good song.
key. Yeah.
Well, I can tailor this question for you. What is your favorite junk food / pregnancy craving?
Oh, well, I love wine gums, like the authentic, like British ones. You can only get them from the bulk barn. But like this pregnancy, I've been craving grapefruits, like,
Okay,
and like,
I'm gonna predict that you're having a girl. I'm just gonna put
yeah.
it out there. Maybe you already know, maybe you don't. I'm gonna put my prediction out there. I was grapefruits and mandarin oranges, like the
Mm,
Christmas oranges that come
yeah.
in with both of my kids. And I was convinced I was having boys both time. And I have two lovely daughters. I would literally, this is embarrassing. I would literally eat like 15 of them a day. Like I couldn't even handle it. I would buy like 2 boxes at a time at the grocery store and I would just be crushing the
That's
citrus
too
fruits.
funny. I've been eating like 2 grapefruits a day almost. It's
Is
like,
your mouth going to peel off on the inside or you're feeling good?
it's not too bad.
Okay.
Can't get enough. It's so weird, but
It's like you
like,
can't even, I actually feel like I'm like salivating thinking about it right now. Like it's like this feeling that you can't even describe, right? Like
yeah,
you just taste it and need it and you need to eat this. It's like an addiction, but a good one.
totally.
If you're going to have an
Yeah,
addiction to something, grapefruits is the thing to choose.
yeah, absolutely.
I love it. When was the last time that you really, really belly laughed, and what were you laughing about?
I laughed so hard because my husband, he's like very conservative, like when it comes to certain things, like he's very cautious about like life choices and driving and financial stuff. And then the movie Grizzly Man, where he's like this eccentric guy who goes and lives with grizzly bears like in the
Oh boy.
wilderness, and like he's crazy, and I know, like, I knew before even saying it to my husband, like I just laughed out so hard because I knew his reaction was going to be like, this guy's crazy, blah, 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 and rightfully so. Like, I was like, oh, we should watch this Grizzly Man film. And the whole time he was like, I can't believe this lunatic, blah, 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 blah. Like, oh, and I was laughing the whole time. It was hilarious.
I love it. Well, I feel too like there's things that are just like funnier now than they were before. Like I think that's been one of the gifts of this pandemic. And I was saying this, I
Yeah.
think, on another episode recently too, where I'm like, things that actually probably shouldn't even be funny are downright hysterical. They're hysterical.
Yeah.
Like things are funnier. And I don't know if that's just like a tweak in my brain or other people's brains where you're just like, anything's possible now. So certain things are just like, that's hilarious. It wouldn't have been funny a year ago, but now it's hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, last question, and this is a good one because you've been very traveled in your young life.
Mhm.
What is your favorite travel destination you've been, or where are you most looking forward to going once restrictions are
Uh,
lifted?
I have a three-way tie
Go
between
for
Koh
it.
Tao, Thailand, Hvar, Croatia, and Amsterdam.
Mm,
Just, they're just, all of them are just so amazing and in their own unique ways. And if I could go anywhere tomorrow, it would probably to like a warm beach
yeah,
destination, anywhere.
just
I'll take it
anywhere.
anywhere.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. I am just so excited for you and Fian as you move forward in this business and just show women around the world, Canada, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, that anything is possible. Way to go.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. This was so fun and absolute pleasure. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.